Things don't change much at the Adelphi. Long before I came here, it was both the roughest and friendliest bar in the town of Merritt, BC. The whites and Indians who drink here have always worked for the handful of wealthy ranchers who own the Nicola Valley.
No, I definitely don't walk if I can ride. I wouldn't walk 100 yards if I had a saddle horse handy.
Get out of the way. Get out of the way.
At the age of 64, my husband, Jack Drake, is one of a number of old-time cowboys still working in the valley. He was born on a BC ranch and was on a horse at the age of 3. Like many of our friends, Jack is up at 5 in the morning and works until 5 in the evening, 6 days a week. He makes $400 a month plus room and board, winter, spring, summer, and fall.
This idea of getting up in the morning and just dreading to go to work, you might as well be dead or doing something else. I thoroughly enjoy my work. I never hesitate to get up in the morning. You can always stop and roll a cigarette or take a 5-minute break or talk to a friend. You're not, like factory workers, you're not chasing a machine, you're not punching a time clock. An hour don't make that much difference either way, or a day for that matter.
Hey! Hey!
He came around the cookhouse fairly regularly, and then about a month, it would be probably in January, he said his birthday was in February. And he and a friend of his were thinking of going to Kamloops to have a real night out on the town, as we go rather than Merritt. So he asked me if I would like to go with him. And I agreed because I kind of had my eye on his friend. I was mildly interested in his friend. And about 2 days before we were to go, he came and he looked very crestfallen, and he said, you know, you may want to call it off, but my friend can't go with us. I said, oh no, Jack, I'm sure. You know, it'll be all right if the two of us go together. And he said, well, we'll have separate rooms. I've taken care of everything now. So we went. We had a marvelous time. But I still suspect, and you can't get the truth out of Jack. He will not tell me one way or the other. But I still suspect that he had never intended to go to Kamloops with a friend at all. And that this was a way to have me go out with him.
"5 years ago, I was struggling to support my 2 children. Fed up with the city, I found a job as home ranch cook at Douglas Lake. It was there I met Jack.
Well, she was cooking at Douglas Lake, and of course me being free and easy going, I heard about this good-looking cook they had down at Douglas Lake. I was up at one of the cow camps, and I drifted down there one day, and of course she'd probably heard of me too. I had quite a reputation as being a high liver in those days.
And he didn't waste any time because he proposed on the way home. And I said, you know, I didn't believe, this is absurd, Jack. There's this ridiculous age difference.
Oh, we had a fiery courtship. Sometimes it was on, sometimes it was off, but finally we decided to take the plunge, and everything has been fine ever since.
The Douglas Lake Cattle Company is one of the largest ranches in North America. It's a ranch with many traditions, but a lot has changed there since I was first hired by the general manager, Neil Williams.
On a ranch this size, it's definitely an aid if you have some business training as well. You can get this in several ways. The extension branch of the governments now provide training in accounting and this sort of thing for ranchers. Actually, I have a degree in commerce, as a matter of fact.
Hello, Don. I'd like to order from the camel's vet 6,000 doses of blackleg malignant edema, 250 doses of east-west sleeping sickness vaccine.
Okay, I'll give him a call right away.
See, you got that coffee button, that's the most important thing. This old horse run off with me.
It used to be that when a person worked here, they just went to the company store and saw the accountant and got some money when he needed it. He might just show up once a year. Well, of course, now we're on a payroll, and everybody receives a paycheck, you know, just like you would as if you were in town.
Well, boys, it's a while to love you back.
Scotty Kincaid Millar is one of the old friends Jack and I meet in town on weekends. Half Scottish, half Irish, and a rebel at heart, he first cowboyed in the valley in 1931.
Yeah, that's sore, I know it's sore. Skin damage. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hello, Shamma.
All the BS going around here when you get here was...
By gee, now, if it's BS, Jack Drake will put it out. That's how he won the war. If it hadn't been for the Sea Force backing him up, he wouldn't have been home here.
Took me in 1944 to figure the Sea Force was on the same side as we were. However, I've been drinking this morning. I can smell your breath.
Drinking? Well, I tell you what, I drank root beer. You can ask the missus there. Isn't that right, missus? That was root beer.
What did
I
you have
haven't
it
touched no
spiked-
liquor ever, son.
What did you have it spiked with, Scott?
Can't show anything.
What?
Can't show anything.
Let me kiss you and I'll tell you.
No.
Anybody'd face turn red if you was going to kiss him.
Gee, I don't know now, Jack. Don't you get cocked?
I don't like to look at these feet at all, Scott.
Eh? God, now he's all broke. Here. Now, you know you getting your boots on. Yeah. You know you're getting your boots on, too. That's the fastest man shooting a horse I ever seen. 20 minutes, Jack, eh?
Here, not anymore, Scott.
No, not anymore now. Whoa!
In Jack's heyday, he was one of the best horseshoers on the racetracks of North America. He shod the famous Round Table, who won nearly $2 million. Now he just shoes for our friends and some beer money.
That'll be a good boy. And I want to see you running this horse up and down them hard roads. You go do a back one now.
I was thinking of it if he doesn't kick.
Oh, he won't kick. I'll talk to him.
That's what I'm afraid of.
Kick, Jack. Kick him right in the behind. See how he holds him now, kid? Now, what's Jack putting on that shoe? You see how flat it is on? And it's got to be even and not too far over on the frog. Whoa. There, boy.
She herself, if she could handle the tools, I do believe.
But you can ask anybody how much it takes you to keep a horse now. He'll tell you. It's $4 for a bale of hay. And the horse will eat a bale of hay in 2 days. It's the big shots that could keep them, but not the poor man.
Scotty was recently retired from Douglas Lake. As the ranch is modernized, younger men, more familiar with new ranching methods, replace the old cowboys. Scotty now lives in town, in a single room in the Grand Hotel, across the street from the Adelphi.
It's kind of hard to concentrate on balancing the ledger or something like that, and some guy comes in, wants his separation slip and his holiday pay, and you've got to get all these things done right in order to get the T4s done right at the end of the year.
The present owner of the Douglas Lake Cattle Company is C.N. Chunky Woodward, millionaire director of the Woodward's department store chain. He lives in Vancouver, but spends as many weekends as he can on the ranch.
Yeah, great, great.
There's around 170,000 acres of deeded land altogether. You say it goes about 20 miles that way and about another 16 miles to the east of us. It's pretty well just in a kind of a disc-shaped, high plateau, probably 8 or 9 miles across. I have some friends in Alberta, and they said, well, now here's somebody that should get into quarter horses. I have the area to run them in. And I just started off really with one horse, and then I liked it so much I ended up with 3 or 4 horses. Now I have around 100 registered quarter horses. As you know, for a couple of years anyhow, I had 2 of the world's champion cutting horses. Canadian Caper is the show halter horse, and we use a different stallion for that type of show performance.
She's the first horse in the world to have a world's champion father and a world's champion mother. So I think she's going to be a super horse in another year or 2. She was 3rd in the world last year for the junior registered cutting, and she was shown in Texas, New Mexico, Oklahoma, Louisiana. We're going to show her this year in halter and pleasure, and we hope eventually to make a cutting horse out of her.
They've got this idea out of the picture shows.
And they'll go around and they'll wear high-heeled boots and a big hat. And they sit at one of your soda fountains. The old-time cowboy never wore nothing. A pair of dungarees, a pair of shoes, and a hat. They only come in for a few hours, a few days, and they leave. But the older people, it's their life.
Come on.
Turn him around now, Mike, on the line.
I can't get over his ears.
All right. Come here now. Now you grab the horse by here. See? There.
Here?
No, you grab his mane. Now, I'll give you a boost up. All right. Up you go. Oh, gee. Now, take this in your other hand. Right where you left. Put your hand on there now. Hold that there now. Sit well up on his withers. Wait, now, give him a smoke. Now, go ahead. And when you turn them that way. Leave your line slack now. See, you got a hold of one line. You've got to keep them lines easy.
The people, such as Scotty, and the things that they can, the experiences that they can tell the boys about, that make these places human and make the way of life special.
All right.
It's conceivable that places like the Douglas Lake Cattle Company will just be corporations. It'll just be a profit and loss statement. I think it's terribly important that there always be people around that remember it another way.
All right with him now? Can you take off that bridle?
Yeah.
Nellie Gutierrez is one of the oldest Indians of the Spockman Band, whose reserve is virtually surrounded by the Douglas Lake Cattle Company. When I first started to work here, Nellie was finishing. She had spent over 60 years working as a housemaid and cook on the different ranches in the valley.
See, I was born 1892. That's my baptism certificate, 1892. And I guess I was about 9 years old when I could remember things now. So I just run my horse any place. They had to herd horses. See, that's why they herd horses. They had no fence. They just had to herd them and bring them in the evening to the kraals.
Over the years, the Indians too have become ranchers, and they now run the reserve with a sharp business sense. A poor investment, horses are being replaced by cattle on Indian rangeland. At this year's spring roundup, only some of the herd will be halter broken and branded as they have been for years. The rest will be sold.
And then they had another, they're kind of like half saddle horse, and they're big on the chest, but they got slim legs.
Right, broke his leg. Broke his hind leg. Just let him go, just leave him tied. I heard something snap. Who's got a gun?
Double hook, can I? Double hook. Hurt it. Yeah, there. Hurts that.
I shouldn't have roped him.
Yeah.
All my fault.
Yeah.
Golden children, golden children, Jan Kwan Min, Tam Tam Ni, Asian Kills, Ni Kwan Cliftons, East Queen Chickens.
As new ways replace the old in the valley, as market demands continue to rise, cows are being bred as yearlings instead of as 2-year-olds and give birth in huge maternity barns. With more and more cattle, the once endless grasslands are disappearing.
And my mother and my stepfather was working up Minnie Lake, and the grass would be about 5 feet high. You wouldn't believe it. Up in the side hills. Everything looked so beautiful. When I think of it now, that day I didn't think nothing of it. I thought it was just the grass. Used to never see no rocks, just nothing but the grass. And when the grass blows by the wind, it's just like waves. Wouldn't that be wonderful if it was like that now?
I came here because I thought that in this area there was the best ranches in the country, and that I could learn something from these people and maybe get out on my own. But of course it takes a lot of capital to get on your own, and so I stayed on here.
Probably pensions for Jack. He'll have an old age pension and possibly a pension from the States. And he'll probably continue to work, ideally just part-time, 2 or 3 days a week. Shoe some horses, cut some meat, build some fences, around our place.
There aren't that many big ranches that go on the market, and there aren't that many people who can afford to buy them. But this ranch has good improvements on it. We've got good buildings, 700 miles of fence in good shape. It's probably worth $20 million, I don't know.
A place to set down, if on a permanent basis. But that won't be our own land because we simply couldn't afford it. Perhaps for people who are planning it over 20 or 25 or 30 years. But Jack and I haven't made plans like that. We don't intend to.
There's no more land, that's right. Yeah.
So it'll take a bit of doing, but I think we'll swing it.
Oh, I don't know. Get a good-looking young wife and drink lots of whiskey and all you can eat, and I think you'll stay young. I'm quite a bit older than Joanne, but I'm a very young old man. Because I've followed that easy pace all my life, and I don't feel any different now than I did when I was 35. I never worry about anything, and just like I said before, if it doesn't happen today, it'll happen tomorrow. So what the hell, Rome wasn't built in a day. There are some fine people in Merritt, and you get to know them all, and you speak to them, and it's always a fast hello or a slow hello. You stop and pass the time of day. You're never in a hurry in Merritt.